Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, April 26, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Repenning, James, Davison has sent to our President. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Craig Shaw, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Khalil Garrios, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Jose Fuentes, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, John Olinger, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment, no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive a speaker card on item number 5 for today's agenda.
Okay, we'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the revised April 7th meeting minutes from Friday, April 7th, 2017? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 1, bids to be received for one public works project. Mr. Campos on agenda item number 1.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The bids to be open today is for the Donald C. Tillman Chemical Line Upgrade. This is in Council District number 6, and the city has estimated this project to be at $958,100.
Oh, yeah.
Give me about a minute. We're going to start opening up the bids. Sorry for that slight pause. The first bid received for the first project is from PPC Construction Incorporated for a total bid amount of $982,950 even. That's $982,950 from PPC Construction Incorporated. The second bid received for the project is from Green Building Corporation for a total bid amount of $1,160,000 even. That's $1,160,000 from Green Building Corporation. The third bid received for this project is from J.F. Shea Construction Incorporated for a total bid amount of $832,000 even. That's $832,000. So again, $832,000 from J.F. Shea Construction Incorporated, $832,000 even. The fourth and final bid received for this project is from Metro Builders and Engineers Group Limited for a total bid amount of $958,296 even. That's $958,296 from Metro Builders and Engineers Group Limited. For the record, line item 5 and the total bid amount have been lined out by the contractor, and both lines have been initialed. President James, that concludes the bid openings for today's agenda.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there a second to my confirmation that the bids have been opened and received, opened, and declared by Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we will confirm that they've been received, opened, and declared forthwith. Agenda item number 2, Bureau of Engineering, request for authority to change the consultant name for pre-qualified on-call geotechnical and environmental consultant services from Fugro, F-U-G-R-O Consultants to Fugro USA Land Incorporated, recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to instruct the controller's office to update their payment records to reflect the consultant name change from Fugro, that's F-U-G-R-O Consultants Incorporated, to Fugro, F-U-G-R-O USA Land Incorporated. Richard Louis? It may be Fugro, but...
You got it right, Fugro.
Okay, well, there you go.
Good morning. My name is Richard Louie with the Bureau of Engineering, and I'm here for this board report. It is a simple name change from a consultant company formerly known as Fugro Consultants Incorporated to their new name, Fugro USA Land Incorporated. There's not much more to say other than it's just a decision that was made by their executive board to change their name.
And as far as we know, all of the required documentation and certification that they're required to file with the state or any other agencies through which they are regulated has been filed?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on number 2? Commissioner Sindos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We will send number 2 forthwith. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, Bureau of Street Services, tree removal at 919, 933, and 943 South Westwood Boulevard. First, find that the tree removal classifies as an operation, repair, maintenance, or minor alteration of an existing street, sidewalk, and gutter involving negligible or no expansion of use beyond that previously existing, and does not involve the removal of a scenic resource. Second, that the action is exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 1, Category 3. That's existing facilities, sidewalk repair or maintenance of the City of Los Angeles Environmental Quality Act guidelines from 2002. And third, that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of the state CEQA guidelines apply. And secondly, review and approve the tree removal permit request for 3 Indian laurel fig trees, those are ficus trees, for the reconstruction of off-grade sidewalks. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Tyson on number 3.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Executive Officer, and City Attorney. The Bureau of Street Services, in collaboration with the Westwood Village Improvement Association, are proposing various street improvements in the Westwood Village community. The improvements include the reconstruction of existing off-grade sidewalks and tree planting along the west side of the 900 block of South Westwood Boulevard, a recognized Great Streets corridor in Council District 5. The project involves the replacement of the existing off-grade sidewalks and planting of new street trees and is intended to encourage pedestrian use along the street while providing safe sidewalks along this Great Street corridor. Mr. Herzog, Bureau Superintendent, contacted Urban Forestry Division regarding the project to address potential impacts to the street trees. A Bureau arborist inspected the subject location on October 12, 2016, and that was myself. The inspection revealed 3 Indian laurel fig trees, measuring approximately 24 inches in diameter by 35 feet in height, growing in 4 feet by 10 feet tree wells. The existing sidewalks are in an off-grade condition with small asphalt repairs in place. Joan Pellico and John Darnell of the 5th Council District Office representatives were informed of the tree removal request on April 5, 2017. Notice of the proposed tree removals were posted physically on the trees on February 22, 2017. Proposed tree removals were included in the Bureau of Street Services tree removal notification system, and the Community Forest Advisory Committee was notified. Now, I brought an extra 2 photos here. I'm going to let Fernando pass around, and you can see why there's 2 ficus trees here that are going to remain. Base of the tree, they're in a small 4x4 tree footwell. There's no uplifting around that. There's no reason for these 2 smaller ficus trees to be removed. They still have a 20-year sustainable time there with the brand new sidewalk. Therefore, I'm recommending they remain. With the other 4 Chinese flame trees that are there, there's 9 total trees once we replant the other 3. The Westwood Village Improvement Association shall replant 3 24-inch box-sized Chinese flame trees at 919, 933, and 943 South Westwood Boulevard in 5-foot by 6-foot tree wells. And 3 24-inch box Chinese flame trees are going to be planted in a vacant 6-foot parkway at 940 South Tiverton Avenue to fill the 2-to-1 replacement policy. So the tree wells are going to be expanded 5 foot towards, instead of them being 4 foot wide, they're going to go 5 feet. And then they will be 6 feet along the sidewalk longitudinally. So we're going to bring them in from 10 feet down to 6, which will be more sidewalk there, and then open it up the other way an extra foot to give what's needed where there isn't distance for the trees to be able to expand in the well that's provided, giving them a sustainable amount of time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tyson. Commissioner Repenning?
Just want to thank you for making sure that the second trees went into the ground on this. I know it takes extra work for you guys to do that, so I'm appreciative.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Any questions on agenda item number 3? Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Tim, thank you for the report and for the work on this. We just had an event for city plans last night under Commissioner Repenning's leadership, and it was an affirmation that we need to continue planting trees and saving trees and doing what we can. You know, I looked at some of the pictures, and it seems as if some of the off-grade sidewalk repairs are not ADA compliant. Do you know if that's actually the case, if there's more than a quarter-inch gap?
There's definitely more than a quarter-inch gap around the other 3 where the SARs are in place. They're more up about 2 inches to 1.5 inches. That's why I'm recommending that those 3 ficus trees be removed.
Excellent. So that a byproduct of this of the trees will be the coming into compliance with
Yes.
the sidewalks. That's a
Bringing
two-foot.
the sidewalks into compliance with ADA.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3. Is there a second on number 3 by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4, Bureaus of Engineering and Contract Administration in Council District 6 requested contract award Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Electrical Power System Modifications. Declare KDC Incorporated doing business as Dynalectric the first low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Dynalectric a contract for the project for $7,479,460, and authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Ms. So is here, as well as Michael Ruiz from Tillman, if we have any questions. Ms. So, go ahead.
Good morning. Amy So from the Bureau of Engineering's Environmental Engineering Division. We're here for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Electrical Power System Modifications Project. And as President James stated, we're requesting to award the contract, specifically that we declare KDC Incorporated doing business as Dynalectric to be the first low bidder, first lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and award Dynalectric the contract for the project in the amount of $7,479,460, and also authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute the contract. The Donald C. Tillman plant is an 80 million gallon per day plant producing tertiary treated effluent. And over the years, the plant has undergone numerous modifications in order to meet permit requirements, and that included a new blower system to process secondary treatment. The modifications have put additional load onto the existing power system, and the reliability of the existing switchgear and the power distribution has become substandard and requires enhancement. The existing circuit breakers of the system are no longer in production, and the repair parts are pretty difficult to acquire. Also, the high voltage cables that are part of the system have been in service for over 20 years, and they've been exposed to flood conditions. The loop system that the current electrical power distribution system is set up as is it's difficult to isolate the individual substations for maintenance, and it limits the ability of the plant to configure the process loads for optimum reliability. So this project will convert the existing 4160 volt loop type system into a dual radial system. It's also known as a star system, and this new system will provide better redundancy and reliability. It's simpler to configure, and it's easier for the plant to troubleshoot. So it will make operations and maintenance tasks a lot simpler. The project will also replace the 3,000 ampere switchgear with new customized switchgear, which is shown in figure number 1. There will be new duct banks, cables, and will also provide redundant sources of power to critical process equipment that before only had only has a single source of power, such as the chemical addition systems. And because the plant needs to continuously operate during the construction, the project will also provide temporary portable generators during the life of the project. The project was advertised and 5 bids were received on January 25th. And the bids were reviewed, and it was determined that the apparent lowest bidder, Dynalectric, did meet all of the city contracting requirements. So therefore, the city engineer is recommending your authorization to award the contract to Dynalectric.
Thank you, Ms. So. Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you. Amy, I had a question regarding the delta between the city engineer's estimate and obviously the low bid is 40%. What is your take on that?
40%, you mean, below. Just so it's clear, the bid is 40% below.
Yes.
When we did review the bids, we also recognized that the lowest bidder's bid was about 40% lower than our city engineer's estimate, and that was a concern to us. So we did analyze the bids carefully, and based on our analysis, it appeared that the discrepancy was coming about in the cost of the electrical equipment. So we did, once the bids were reviewed and it was determined that Dynalectric was going to be recommended and they had passed all the other requirements, we did invite them into our office to discuss the discrepancy between our estimate and their bid. We also wanted to confirm that their understanding of the scope was in line with what the Bureau was requiring as far as all the different contract requirements. So we did do that, and we did confirm with them that during the bid process, they received a high bid, or a high quote for the customized electric switchgear. And during the design phase, we also received a high quote for the customized electric switchgear. Towards the end of the bid process, they received a revised quote for that same equipment, and that was the contributor to that difference in the cost. But their understanding of the scope is the same, and it does follow what the contract requires.
Great. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. I would just note, thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. I would just note for the record as well that, interestingly enough, the top 4 bids were all over 25% below. So the low bid was not an outlier here. There were other bids that were significantly below the city's estimate as well, just for the record. All right, thank you. Anything further on agenda item? Commissioner Davis on number 4.
Can you briefly give me an overview of the participation, the business inclusion participation on this project? I realize that we're dealing with, I guess, electrical work, right? This is electrical. The scope of work here is electrical. Is that correct?
That's correct. The majority of the scope is electrical work, and I will... the bidders were required as part of the bidding process to comply with the business inclusion program. That means they had to outreach and provide a good faith effort in reaching out to different disadvantaged groups. So this bidder, Dynalectric, they are pledging 30.32% small business enterprise, 30.32% emerging business enterprise, and 16.78% disabled veteran business enterprise for this job.
Thank you. I'd love to see the DVBE number on this. Anything further on agenda item number 4? Commissioner Sintos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4. I'll second it. Any objection on number 4? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending 4 forthwith? We will send number 4 forthwith. Thank you, Ms. So.
Okay,
Nice
thank
job.
you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6. Council District 14, construction order, Diamond Street, subsistence, Figueroa Building Street, and sidewalk repair, recommending that the board first authorize Environmental Construction Incorporated to withdraw their bid with the understanding that in accordance with the Public Contracting Code, the board will not accept a bid from them in the event this project is re-advertised. And secondly, authorize the execution of the construction order for the Diamond Street subsidence. I think I said subsistence before, but Diamond Street subsidence, Figueroa Building Street, and sidewalk repair project to Mike Perlich and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $788,554 with a not-to-exceed limit of $875,000. Gene Edwards.
Good morning, everyone. Gene Edwards with the Bureau of Engineering. A little background on the project. This project will mitigate excessive subsidence in Diamond Street adjacent to the city-owned
Subsidence. Thank
Subsidence
you.
is the word.
There are 9 different ways you can say
Right,
that.
I know. Close, very close.
I said subsidence, and then I said
Subsidence.
something else. I don't really, yeah.
So as you know, the Figueroa Towers are the city-owned Figueroa Towers, and Diamond Street is adjacent to the South Tower. The repair location poses a safety hazard due to flooding and trip and fall conditions. In addition, the subsidence has caused stress and possible fatigue on the North Figueroa Tower water main utility. Subsidence is when the ground settles, and from the historic documents that we researched, there used to be an ancient ravine in there that was filled during the construction of Diamond Street, and could be that the sub base was not properly prepared. So the chemical injection will mitigate that by stiffening and strengthening the soil. On December 21st of last year, BOE solicited bids for the project from all 7 contractors on the geotechnical and structural pre-qualified on-call list of contractors. On February 16th, the city received 4 bids. The lowest bidder at the time was Environmental Construction in the amount of $574.50, which was 18.8% higher than the city engineer's estimate. However, on February 17th, Environmental Construction submitted a letter to BOE requesting withdrawal of their bid due to clerical errors, and the BOE has reviewed the request and believes it complies with the Public Contracting Code, Section 5103, for granting bid withdrawals as stipulated in the general instructions and information for bidders in the bid documents for the project. Therefore, the BOE recommends award to the second lowest bidder, who is Mike Perlich and Sons. His bid was in the amount of $788,554, which was 39.7% higher than the city engineer's estimate. Therefore, we recommend that the board authorize Environmental Construction to withdraw their bid, and also that the board authorize the execution of a construction order to Perlich and Sons in the amount of $778,554 with a not to exceed limit of $875,000.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. I recognize that by doing this, it's going to cost the city about $118,000 more, although it also makes sense that we want the project to be able to be completed. So, Mr. Jordan, whenever we have these requests for the withdrawal of bids, I always like a statement from the city attorney to be on our oral record. Is this request for withdrawal in compliance with the Public Contracting Code according to the city attorney's office?
We believe it is.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Davis?
I just wanted some clarification in terms of the clerical error. They are stating that as a result of the clerical error, that the quote that they gave us was insufficient financially for them to make a profit. Is that pretty much?
Yes. In particular, bid items 32 and 33, which are rental rates, they claim that they were incorrect.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that all, Commissioner Davis? Okay, thank you. Anything further on agenda item number 6? I don't have anything further. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6. I don't see that we have much choice here. Seconded by Commissioners Davis and Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending it forthwith? Thank you, Mr. Edwards. We'll send agenda item number 6 forthwith. Agenda item number 7, authority for expenditure and miscellaneous vendors. The Office of Accounting and the Bureau of Contract Administration are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $343,164.14 to various vendors for minimum wage ordinance advertising services for the Office of Wage Standards. Roger, good morning, sir.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, and Executive Staff. My name is Roger Che, and I'm with the Office of Wage Standards of the Bureau of Contract Administration. On July 1st of this year, small businesses with 25 or fewer employees will see the minimum wage being raised to $10.50 an hour, and large businesses with 26 or more employees to $12 an hour. In addition, employees may also qualify for paid sick leave in the city of Los Angeles. Due to this increase with AE 1776-0015M, we are requesting the budget of $343,964.14 for our multimedia outreach campaign. We will be advertising with 23 newspapers, 4 radio stations, 3 digital outlets, bus benches, interior bus cars, as well as train stations in multiple languages for the months of May and June in support of the increase of the minimum wage and paid sick leave. The advertisements provide the necessary notice to reach a large and broad audience in various languages and will inform both employers and employees about the July 1st, 2017 minimum wage and paid sick leave requirements. Specifically in geographic areas with high concentrations of ethnic and immigrant populations. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Che. You broke down the number of newspapers and radio, digital, bus, train, which is helpful for the oral record. But just regarding the percentages of what we're spending, most of the money, it looks like, although I've got a bad copy. We're spending just about a third of it in the newspaper print area.
Yes.
And is that's the largest of the categories, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Definitely.
That's the only one where I see 6 figures, although radio might get close.
Yeah, we extended more airplay with the radio stations just to work with our budget.
Could you break down the totals for us? We can see the newspaper total, but the other radio, digital, bus, and train are not.
Oh, definitely.
Not clear for us.
For the newspaper, it would be $101,637.14. Radio ads would be $92,367. Digital ads would be $53,600. Bus ads would be $77,990. And for the train ads would be $17,490.
Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you. I just had a comment on the newspaper ads. It's a great combination of very diverse print ads in communities whose language is not English first, and so they rely on sort of print media to get. So I think that's very good. I want to congratulate Bureau of Contract Administration for taking that route and being very diverse. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Commissioner Davis.
I wanted to add to that compliment as well in terms of newspaper ads. I think we've definitely done a comprehensive job at touching bases with all of the diverse populations and languages that is Los Angeles. And I'm looking at the radio ads too. And in the future, there may be some areas, and I know we don't have but so much money.
Yeah, exactly.
So in a perfect world, I'd love for us to look at the radio outreach as well, because, we have 2 kinds of learners. We have visual learners,
yes,
and we have audible learners, those who learn from hearing. And so I think it's important as we move forward in the future to also see if we have enough money.
Okay.
To
Definitely.
include that as well. So thank you for the great work that you do.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I have a couple of questions. Thank you, Commissioner Davis. So, who's your target in the ad campaign?
Our target audience in general,
business owners,
employees and employers. We need to let them know of what's going to happen. Make sure the employers know that this is coming up, so they can kind of set themselves up so they can start paying their employees the right rates, and just employees in general, just so they know their rights and they know what the requirements are, just so they don't get just swindled by employers.
And is it fair to say that given that it's employers and employees, your age range is broad, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Just a couple of suggestions to look at as you go forward.
Okay.
I come out of the radio. This is not a pitch for any of my former radio stations that I've worked on because I never worked on at KNX.
Nice.
But I would recommend that you look into the talk radio genre or the news radio genre.
Okay.
You get a pretty good cross section, and you can do that. And you have KJLH, great, Korea Radio. All of the ones that you have are good. And I'm not talking about replacing any of them. I would add to them.
Okay.
Look at the news radio, talk radio category. The other area that I would recommend that your team look at and consider in the future, near future, and I'm only learning about this vast and rapidly growing outlet because of the work that I do on the film and television side. There is a massive following for web-based media and digital media hosting entities, whether it's YouTube and then various other entities like BuzzFeed, 72 and Sunny, all of the College Humor, all of these companies with funny names, kind of, that don't necessarily tell you what they really do, but that's what they do. There are ways to look into the advertising model that they use, because it's possible. I don't know this for sure, but I think it might be possible that you can reach a lot of folks in that genre with a little money. And so that's why I think that it's new, so it's going to, that's why I think you all, to the extent you're not already studying it, maybe you are. If you are, continue. If not, you might want to delve into that. And if you want some assistance to just kind of tell you where to go, there are a couple of people that work in the mayor's office of economic development and in the mayor's office in the intergovernmental relations group that can help guide you through some of those companies. And if you just pick up the phone and call them and ask them questions, they work with the city on a number of different areas. They'll be happy to kind of explain their process to you and explain how you get the most for your money.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just to think about as you go forward,
definitely.
because media is changing, and
It's
the
super-
newspapers know it, and I think for what you're trying to do now, I understand why because your outreach can be very broad and diverse with the newspapers, but I also think it can be very broad and diverse with this web-based media outlet, because I mean they're in every language, and you know it's really
And everybody has a
interesting.
phone too. They could just look it up.
Yeah, and people can access it through their smartphones.
Definitely.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And again, you might be able to get a lot for a little bit of money. Yeah. So
always
with
the
that,
goal.
anything further on agenda item number 6? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6. Seconded.
It's number 7.
Oh, well, thank you. We already did number 6. Yes. We don't need to do it again. So we'll do number 7. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7. Commissioners Jacinto and Davis will second. Any objection? With that objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Agenda item number 8 is an oral report, so we will go to agenda item number 5. Council District 11, Bureaus of Engineering and Contract Administration, requested contract award, Hyperion Treatment Plant, Headworks Improvements, and Headworks Odor Control Upgrade. And Headworks are expensive, as you can tell. Recommending that the board first declare Kiewit Infrastructure West, Kiewit, the first low bidder, to be non-responsive as discussed in the report. Secondly, declare Murray Plumbing and Heating Corporation, doing business as Murray Company, the second low bidder, to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award them a contract for the project for $25,879,213. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Sean Zahedi is here to tell us about the project and how these costs can add up. And we have Ms. McGlinchey on outstanding issues that are explained in the board report between the first and second low bidder, as well as a speaker card. Mr. Zahedi, we'll start with you, sir.
Good morning. Sean Zahedi, Bureau of Engineering. This is a contract award for two projects, actually, that are combined into one contract at the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant. First project is the Hyperion Headworks Improvement project, and the second one is the Hyperion Headworks Odor Control Upgrade project. The Headworks Improvement project will provide for the replacement of 8 existing bar screens with a opening of 3/4 inch with 8 new bar screens that are fully enclosed, made of stainless steel and are of a higher and more recent technology. The project will also install 6 ventilation fans for the Headworks facility, replace the existing sluiceway with a completely enclosed stainless steel sluiceway, and install 3 drum screens and 3 new screw presses, and rehabilitate 3 chopper pumps. The second project in this contract is the Hyperion Odor Control upgrade. This one will replace the existing 5 chemical scrubbers, 3 carbon scrubbers, and 2 chemical storage tanks with 4 biotrickling filters and 8 carbon scrubbers to remove and treat the odor in the Headworks facility. This is a change from a chemical system to a biological system. The contract includes about $6.5 million worth of equipment that has been sole sourced. The city engineer estimate is $24,075,000. We received 4 bids. The first low bidder is Kiewit at 7.09% higher than the city engineer estimate, and the second low bidder is Murray Company at 7.49% higher than the city engineer estimate. Less than $100,000 separates the first and the second low bidders on this $25 million project contract. Based on the range of the bids submitted, staff believes that these bids are reasonable and the contract may be awarded to either one of the 2 bidders, subject to the verification of other bidding requirements. Both Kiewit and Murray are certified local businesses. As far as the business inclusion program is concerned, the OCC determined that Kiewit, the first low bidder, complied with the BIP outreach requirements. However, they pledged an MSM of 21.41%, which did not meet the required percentage of 25% for this project. Therefore, their bid may be deemed non-responsive. There was a series of communications between Kiewit and ConAd that the OCC representative will go into more detail on those. As far as our recommendation is concerned, after consultation with the city attorney, the staff finds that the Kiewit failed to meet the MSM requirements, and as such, their bid should be deemed non-responsive. Murray, the second low bidder, did comply with the BIP requirements, and they pledged 31.4% MSM. In light of what I reported, the staff recommends that Kiewit Infrastructure West, the first low bidder, be declared non-responsive, and Murray Plumbing and Heating Corporation, doing business as Murray Company, second low bidder, to be the lowest responsible bidder, and the contract be awarded to them for $25,879,213. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Zahedi. I know it's in the board report, but, well, the board report describes the type of equipment and the new equipment that would need to be installed in this process. Would you just because, again, it's a $25 million project cost, recognizing how you've described the two projects that are combined into one here with the odor control, would you just, for the record, just to describe some of the equipment and the installation that we're dealing with in scale here that results in a bid estimate and the bids that have the dollar figures that we have here?
Sure. These two projects that are combined, our estimate for each one is about $12 million. So each one costs about that much to construct. As far as the screens are concerned, these are very large bar screens that are used at the headworks facility as the wastewater comes in to remove large objects from the flow. As you know, Hyperion handles between 250 and 300 million gallons a day of wastewater. So you can imagine that these are very large pieces of equipment. And this project basically is replacing these 20-year-old screens with equipment that is state-of-the-art. It is fully enclosed as opposed to the existing equipment, which is open. It's stainless steel, and basically, and it also has a multiple raking system, which means that we are able to remove more solids from the flow using these screens. So the price of the screens is about the last quotation we got from the manufacturer, about $4.5 million. And then in addition to this, we have the screw presses, compactors, pumps, vents, the sluiceway, which is again stainless steel, fully enclosed, all to reduce the amount of odor generated from the facility. So when you add it all up, plus installation, $12 million is what we arrive at for the bar screen replacement. As far as the odor control, again, we are transitioning from a chemical scrubbing system to a biological system, which is again the new technology, and we're going to be saving in chemical costs, and as far as operation, it's going to be a smoother operation, and just to build these enormous biotrickling filter cells requires a lot of work, and then you need to fill the cells with media and activate the media, and so that's pretty much the extent of the work.
Thank you, Mr. Zahedi. Very helpful for us. Commissioner Davis?
So Murray is also a local business as well.
Yes, they are.
As well as Kiewit. And given the fact that they are certainly in compliance with the MSM and other goals of our expectation, obviously is clear that the recommendation that you made is something that we support. So to that end, I wanted to say that I supported Mr. President, and I don't know if it's premature.
Well, we haven't heard from Ms. McGlinchey yet on the issue that, okay, so thank you, Mr. Zahedi. Ms. McGlinchey, there's an issue between, the Bureau has made a recommendation regarding responsiveness of the first low bidder, Kiewit. And in response to the Bureau's recommendation, that resulted in the Bureau going to the second low bidder, which is Murray. Kiewit has submitted a protest communications to the city, and their representative is here today, but you can summarize that for us this morning, and then we will hear from them. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Linda McGlinchey, Bureau of Contract Administration. Yes, when the Office of Contract Compliance evaluated Kiewit's bid, we found them to have not met the mandatory subcontracting minimum. This was due to their bid listing Gerlich Mitchell Incorporated for...
The MSM on this project was...
The MSM was 25%.
And theirs was 21?
20, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So they had listed Gerlich Mitchell to supply the headworks. The sub-bid from Gerlich Mitchell was only Gerlich Mitchell, did not reference anyone. Headworks is the manufacturer. We checked with Gerlich Mitchell. They said that they would be ordering it. That's what the sub-bid showed. It was going to be provided, but that the manufacturer would ship it directly, so they would never take possession of it. As a result, we had to credit Gerlich Mitchell as a broker only. A definition of a broker per our bid proposal documents is basically someone with whom you're contracting for the supply of material. But they simply contact the manufacturer, order it, the manufacturer ships it directly to the end user. The company that you've contracted with never takes possession, doesn't deliver. They simply place the purchase order. And that is the definition that Gerlich Mitchell fell under. In our communication with Kiewit, they were advocating that Gerlich Mitchell was a supplier. We went back and forth, and we explained to them the definition of a supplier, which would be a company that has, say, a warehouse, keeps the product in their inventory regularly, sells it to the public, or in the case of a bulk item, they could order it from the manufacturer, but they must take possession of it, and they must own the delivery method. So they need to have trucks that they own to deliver the material. In this case, Kiewit proposed that the bar screens be delivered to Gerlich Mitchell, but then Kiewit would pick them up. So again, it does not meet the definition of a supplier. Finally, and after explaining that, Kiewit then suggested that they would contract directly with Headworks and therefore get 100% for contracting with the manufacturer, thus meet the MSM by doing so. Our issue, and that is what we contacted City Attorney about, was Headworks was not bid listed. It was Gerlich Mitchell. So to allow them to change their bid to come into conformity, we could not allow that. And therefore, we are recommending that Kiewit be found non-responsive for failing to meet the MSM.
Hey, thank you, Ms. McGlinchey. Questions from Ms. McGlinchey before we hear from the representative for Kiewit. Commissioner Davis.
In our training and briefing with prime contractors prior to the agreement that we signed with them, do we give this information and training to them at any point in time, either verbally or in writing?
The pre-bid meetings, it is reviewed. Okay. Additionally, the bid proposal documents, Part 3, talks about participation recognition, where it has the definitions of a broker, supplier, manufacturer, and how they will be credited.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGlinchey. Any other questions for Ms. McGlinchey? I don't have any at this time, but I may in a moment. David McPherson. Mr. McPherson, you're here on behalf of Kiewit. As a real party in interest and a party with the protest, we don't put a time limit on you. However, if you start to repeat yourself or make the same point over and over again, I'll step in to kindly remind you of that. Okay? Thank you, sir.
President James, commissioners, and executive officers, thank you for the opportunity to be here before you today. The low bidder, Kiewit, believes that the decision to deem its bid non-responsive is wrongful, arbitrary, and an abuse of discretion. Let me give you a little bit of background. These mechanical screens are specified from a sole source to be supplied by Headworks. They are very large. They're 20 feet by 9 feet by 1 foot and weigh 20,000 pounds. This constitutes $4 million of this project. Kiewit called Headworks and was told to go through their supplier, Gerlich Mitchell, and did so based upon their instructions. And they listed Gerlich Mitchell on the belief that they were a supplier that would give them 60% credit, which would allow them to be above the 25% limit. Now, based on 2 prior City of LA jobs, Kiewit believed this was appropriate. In fact, in one job when Kiewit listed Gerlich Mitchell, in a similar instance, they were elevated from 60% to 100%. Similarly, one of their competitors, J.F. Shea, who in fact was a bidder in the opening today, did the very same thing. They listed Gerlich Mitchell, and they were elevated from 60 to 100%. Is Gerlich Mitchell a vendor? That's a key question here. I understand the distinction made. However, think about the size of this equipment. 9 by 20, 20,000 pounds. This is not off-the-shelf stuff. That supports the reason why the City of LA in prior instances deemed listing Gerlich Mitchell to be responsive. Now, regardless, these screens for all bidders come from the exact same manufacturer. They have to. That's what the specifications require. Now, Kiewit listed Gerlich Mitchell and did not write down Headworks' name. Apparently, that is an error. We understand the distinctions made. But the question before you to decide is whether the allowance of Kiewit to add the words Headworks to its bid, does that provide it with an unfair competitive advantage over all other bidders? Does it enable Kiewit to withdraw its bid? And the simple answer is no. All bidders must buy these materials from Headworks. Same cost, same product, same installation. It does not provide Kiewit with any unfair advantage. All bidders must do the same thing. Yet, when one bidder writes down different wording to describe where this material is coming from, they get credit for the BIP percentage is different than Kiewit. I propose to you that there is no unfair competitive advantage here. And Kiewit cannot withdraw its bid. It has to buy from Headworks of this large material. Kiewit objects to the subjective and what it perceives as an arbitrary interpretation of this bid and this specification that deviates from 2 past City of LA projects under the same circumstances. Now, I will state that the OCC drew some distinctions between those 2 projects. One included a
Every
proposal.
project's different, Mr. McPherson.
But it's the same type of President James, I agree with you. But it's the same scenario, and I believe that it is applicable here as far as past conduct. And the reason is that how are contractors bidding work for the City of LA to bid work when there are different interpretations between projects, or at least perceived? That's a problem. That's a problem for bidders. By deeming Kiewit non-responsive, the City of LA is paying more for this job. the additional payment could pay 1/3 of that media on item number 7. It's important. It doesn't provide Kiwa with an unfair advantage, and it cannot withdraw its bid, and that's the standard under the Public Contract Code. And I urge you to consider that. Kiwa does not wish to stand in the way of this project, but would request 2 things. One is that you please consider its argument that this is not a material change, it does not provide an unfair competitive advantage, and it does not allow Kiewit to withdraw its bid. Therefore, please consider deeming Kiewit's bid responsive. Secondly, if you decide not to, Kiewit would respectfully request a meeting with the city to discuss its bid costs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Herman? We don't need applause one way or the other. Any questions for Mr. McPherson? Ms. Commissioner Davis?
I'm wanting to get some clarification in terms of what have occurred based upon your testimony here today. You mentioned, is it Gerlich Michaels? What's the name of the...
It's Gerlich Mitchell.
Okay, Gerlich Mitchell. You listed Gerlich Mitchell on the form to Con Ed, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And even though Headworks is the manufacturer, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
You had the option to initially put Headworks on instead of Gerlich Mitchell, correct? That was an option that you had as prime contractor when you had the form before you and were filling it out. You could have, in fact, put that there without having been violated in any way.
Yes, sir. Let me explain, provide just a moment of context for that.
Okay.
The form talks about suppliers.
Sure.
And it says suppliers. And so when Kiewit was told by Headworks that it's to contact its supplier.
By whom were they told that?
Headworks.
Okay. But the instructions in our practice comes from the city. So therefore, the possibility that the instruction came from the Bureau of Engineering, or rather the Bureau of Contract Administration, might have been options from which we might have taken instructions. Given that the form came, where did the form come from? It was an engineering or contract administration?
It is a bid form, sir.
So it came from contract administration?
Correct.
So therefore, in filling out the form, so that we would have alignment, it might have been possible that we should have considered instructions coming from the same source as opposed to Headwork. Administratively, Headworks has no authority as it relates to instructions on a form in which they did not design. So therein lies a problem in terms of taking instructions from an entity who does not have a stake in the original form that we're filling out. You understand my thinking on that?
Yes, sir. If I may address it briefly. When you contact a manufacturer, and they say, please contact our supplier to make these arrangements. If you write down the supplier and you think that they are the supplier, and you write them down, that's a 60% credit. And
from whom?
On the BIP, if you write down a supplier, this
would give you the credit.
It was Kiewit believed that by writing down Gerlich Mitchell, it would receive the 60% credit, which would put it over.
But where would
the
the credit come from? Would it come from Headmasters? Headworks? Where would the credit come from?
It believed that it was a supplier.
Yes.
And it believed that by listing that supplier, it would obtain the 60% credit.
Where did it believe the credit would come from?
Based upon the bid documents, sir.
But whom would give the credit?
It would be
contract administration.
It would qualify. Kiewit believed
Bureau of Engineering.
Kiewit believed it qualified and was responsive to the RFP based upon listing Gerlich
But I'm
Mitchell.
unclear what they believed in terms of the credit that they have perceived it would be coming.
Yes.
Where did you believe the credit would be coming from?
From listing Gerlich Mitchell because
but who would give you the credit?
The city.
Okay, therefore, that is what I want to explore. If the city is going to give us the credit, and we perceive that, it is equally important to confirm that to be the case. We can't confirm it from Headworks. We have to confirm it from the city. And so therein lies the issue that we have a difficulty trying to draw the line. There is no alignment in our reasoning because we did not go back to the source who designed the form that we were filling out, and also the form reflects the person who would be granting the perceived credit. And so I think, in all fairness, that is the shortfall here in the problem that we have before us.
If I may, sir, Kiewit did not send a request for information to the city asking the question of whether listing Gerlich Mitchell would qualify. That's been determined to be an error by the city. Kiewit requested to correct this clerical error. Under the Public Contract Code, this error...
Here is the problem.
Yes,
Here's
sir.
the problem, not to cut you off. We have a practice here that we implement with everyone doing business with us. The practice has been that you cannot go back and enter on your form after having already submitted it. So that is not a rule that we apply in this circumstance uniquely. It is something that we do across the board all the time. So we have never, by practice, allowed you to go back and then change what you have entered. Conversely, we also talked about prime contractors having the choice when you fill out the form to enter the manufacturer in the first place. So you could have, no one stopped you, you would not have been penalized had you put Headworks in the form instead of Gerlich Mitchell, I guess is the name. So you had that choice as a prime contractor, but however, we can't change the practice specifically for your firm and not have applied that same practice to other like prime contractors doing business with us. So for us, that becomes a very difficult situation.
This is the core issue, I guess, sir. And I appreciate what you're saying, and I do not disagree with you. However, based upon the past conduct of the city in evaluating this same supplier or this vendor, Gerlich Mitchell, it was deemed a supplier or a manufacturer in other projects. And so when that happens, there's a lack of consistency with this project in the way that the city is exercising its discretion to allow whether a change should happen or not. And that, sir, is the core issue.
I really can't conclude that with the other issues involved in those particular cases that you're mentioning. There probably are some other factors and some other variables that define how Headworks was considered. And of course, one of them we've just discussed. Were they entered on the form as the supplier from the very beginning versus your failure to enter them? So we have an issue here where our practice has to be followed and be consistent. We can't allow you to enter something in and then not allow your competitor to enter something in. So as we look specifically at this case, we didn't allow your competitor to go back and change, and we have not had a practice of allowing any prime contractor to go back and change. That is the issue. Now, the other issue that we've not discussed that was mentioned by Mrs. McGlinchey is in fact that we have a training session where we give information to prime contractors before we get an agreement, before you sign on to do business with us. And in that session, we give information and education in terms of what is required of you, what is expected of you. My understanding is that discussion was had with all of the prime contractors in this particular case, what our expectation is as it relates to being able to enter manufacturers in or not. So that information was given to you by city staff in our session that we have, and we routinely do that with everyone who's doing business with us. So given those facts, then it makes it very difficult for us to permit a change. And I don't even know if it's even legal to allow the change, because it does change the outcome of the evaluation of the contract.
May I respond?
Yes, sir.
You made 3 points, sir, and I will address each of them. I'll go in reverse order. The law under the Public Contract Code does allow the city the discretion to allow a change that is deemed non-material and does not allow the contractor to have does not provide the contractor with a competitive advantage over the other bidders. I submit to you that there is no competitive advantage here due to the fact that this material is a sole source supplier. Same price, same thing for everyone. That's point number one. Point number two, at the meeting, I agree that there was one, but I submit to you, sir, that the discussion does not go into the level of detail such that the contractors were advised that the so-called supplier for this material, Headworks, Gerlich Mitchell, would be deemed a vendor. The general requirements were probably discussed, but the second layer, third layer probably were not. I wasn't there, so I can't comment, but that's my general understanding of those types of meetings.
I think what makes it difficult is our practice. We still, certainly the state law gives us the opportunity to have some flexibility on some policy decisions. Yet at the same time, at our level, we have a practice that must be consistent, must be fair and just to everybody competing. And as I had discussed earlier, our practice is that you would have indicated Headworks in as a supplier on your form, which you did not. And so therefore, then to go back and allow you to increase the statement of who it was after the fact is contrary to our practice of how we practice contract administration with prime contractors. That presents a problem. We don't practice it. I understand what the state says, but you have several levels of laws and regulations. So yes, we have a state law, Contract 2000. I guess you're taken from one of those objectives of Contract 2000 by the state. Fine. But you also have to evaluate the regulations and the practice of city government at this level. It can no less apply a standard than can the state. So the state gives us the opportunity on one hand, and yet at the city level on this hand, we must be consistent. We have not done that in the past, is my understanding, based upon testimony here, and we did provide, and we continue to provide, appropriate training for every prime contractor that has an agreement with us. Prior to them doing the business, we go over all of the rules and regulations. So I just want to conclude, and I don't want to keep going back and forth, and I do hear your argument. I do hear it. But I just think that we have to have some consideration for the city's practice and how we implement our rules and regulations with every contractor, particularly those who are competing against each other in the same circumstances, such as the case on the table today.
May I conclude with 2 sentences, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's it, and then we're going to Commissioner Repenning and other people that have been waiting in the queue.
Thank you. The consistency is not the change of name. The consistency that we're looking for is how this Gerlich Mitchell is classified by the city. It's not the change of the name, but in the past, Gerlich Mitchell has been deemed to have a greater percentage of BIP credits. We are asking for that determination.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Repenning?
I actually have a question for Ms. McGlinchey.
Ms. McGlinchey.
You know, I'm having a hard time figuring out where I'm at on this one, and I think it has something to do with the way that the board report is written. I'm just, it starts out saying that, you know, they were deemed non-responsive, and then it immediately goes into, it doesn't go into the issue of why they were deemed non-responsive. It goes into the back and forth that then occurred in which Kiewit wants to talk about previous bids. And so for me, I just want to make it clear what happened, which is that they listed GMI instead of Headworks. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
And they listed them as a company that was not just going to provide a product, but was actually going to provide work. And so they wanted 100% of that credit as a sub. Is that accurate?
No. No, they listed GMI. The original sub bid from GMI wasn't very clear. It just gave a dollar amount. In our discussion, they had stated that GMI provided engineering services in addition to providing the bar screens. So we had asked them to break up the GMI, get a revised sub-quote from them, explaining that and basically itemizing the cost of the bar screens versus these added value services that they were supposed to be doing for the engineering services, because for that we could give them 100% credit. However, they said that they could not get that from GMI. And one of the other issues is, as you may recall, Kiewit said they went to Headworks. Headworks said you have to get it through GMI. So at the end, when they said, well, we'll just buy it directly and contract with Headworks, we don't even know how it is that they can do that when Headworks said you have to get it directly from GMI. With regards to GMI, we have been consistent. What Kiewit hasn't raised to you as a matter of clarification, GMI is a manufacturer's representative for many different manufacturers. They also have a state contractor's license. Not too long ago, we did give them 100% credit because they were not just supplying the product, they were installing it.
Every project is different. It was what I was trying to say earlier.
Yes,
Go ahead.
and especially with regards to GMI. In that respect, they were acting as a subcontractor, not just a supplier. So, and for that project, it wasn't Headworks bar screens that they were providing either. So you can't say because on this other project they got 100% that we're being inconsistent. We're being consistent within our definitions and what they are doing or performing. The other thing is every contractor has their choice as to how they will try to meet MSM. You know, if you look, you'll notice that Murray, as the second low bidder, went over and above in terms of meeting the MSM, and they did that without listing GMI or Headworks.
And GMI and Headworks are both part of that bid as a...
Yes, they will have to get the bar screens from GMI.
Sole source. It's the only game in town for that product.
Exactly.
Okay, this is a tough one because, Kiewit, I mean, we do business with them all the time. And in that sense, to me, I think they know our rules, so clearly their intention was to meet the MSM. On the other hand, they do know our rules, and they know that, and to me, I would have wished that they would have reached out to you during the process of putting the bid together and asked the question. So we wouldn't be here today.
Thank you, Commissioner Penny. Commissioner Rivas, and then Commissioner Jacinto.
Linda already kind of made the point that I was trying to make, which is that Murray was able to meet the 25% MSM without including the supplier or the equipment supplier. So while I understand that some manufacturers do require you to use their broker or a representative, like it seems Headworks is doing, that you can't buy it directly from them, but the city doesn't require you to use them to meet the MSM, correct?
Correct.
And our second lowest bidder was able to meet the minimum without listing the equipment supplier, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I don't think also that, that listing Gerlich Mitchell was a clerical error, unless I'm wrong. I mean, I know, it seems like originally Kiewit tried to say that they're adding engineering services, but then at the end said it was a clerical error, we just want to replace Headworks with Headworks. So that's also inconsistent to me, and so I think for me it's pretty clear that they didn't follow our rules.
And also, as a matter of clarification, the Public Contract Code is very clear on how and when you declare a clerical error and what you must do in terms of, oh, we listed the wrong subcontractor. You can't do that weeks or months later. It has to be almost immediate after the bid opening.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you. Linda's, the exchange in this round has answered the questions regarding the appellant's issues of precedence set with the previous two projects. So I'm good with, I'm
Okay.
satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mr. Jordan. Thank you, Ms. McGlinchey. I don't think I have a question for you yet. Is there potential risk for competitive advantage here if we allow Kiewit to sub in the name here?
Well, I don't think it's appropriate to allow them to change who they've listed. One question can be, should the board waive the mistake or the thing that makes them non-responsive, which is the failure to meet the MSM? Typically, when the mistake is found to have not given a firm a competitive advantage, then it's waived and they would just proceed with who they've listed rather than actually change who they listed. In the past, there's been, in prior contracts, there's been issues with did the person list the right thing? The OCC looks at the quote, and when it's clear that the quote was from the manufacturer, there can be things done there. Here, of course, there's none of that record. The quote and the listing was solely Gerlich, not Headworks. Kiewit listed Gerlich for, I have their bid here, $4,796,000. Murray did not list a sub for the bar screen. Obviously, they have to provide a bar screen, but by not listing someone, you're not exposing yourself to a potential penalty should you underpay that firm. Kiewit's on the hook to pay Gerlich $4,796,000. If they don't pay them $4 million, if they don't pay them at least $4,796,000, if they short them $1, then they can be exposed to a penalty of up to 10% of that amount under our rules that say we can penalize people for not paying the amount that they were listed. We expect people to list people if you want to get credit. If you don't list them, you don't get credit. But if you list them, in exchange for that credit, you expose yourself to a potential penalty should you not pay them that amount. So Kiewit, by listing someone, is exposed to a penalty. Murray is not. There's a competitive advantage you get when you start playing around with the listing of subcontractors or not. In this case, Kiewit made a mistake. They listed GMI with the assumption that they would be a supplier because Headworks referred to them as a supplier. The city controls the definitions of supplier, broker, manufacturer, subcontractor, and they assumed that because Headworks called them a supplier, then the city would also treat them as a supplier. As Commissioner James pointed out, this information is we control those definitions and we educate the contractors as to what those definitions are. They're in the bid documents, and when you make a mistake of that nature, we don't allow you to change it after the fact.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Here's where I am. The delta between the two is less than 0.5%. I think the risk is too great to try and reach the low bidder here for less than 0.5%. And the second low bid did everything right. And I just think that there's too much risk to try and do that. Thank you all for your participation. I would make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5 as is. Seconded by Commissioners Davis and Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, that'll be the order. Any issue sending the agenda item number 5 out forthwith? We'll send number 5 out forthwith. Thank you, everyone. Agenda item number 8 is an oral report regarding the 6th Street Viaduct. I believe it's our quarterly report from the Bureau of Engineering. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 8.
Well, there's no change to the abuse of public funds under LNPE program manager, right? After all, this project is one that started off with a few million and is going into the 1 billion mark, or error mark, for your information. Now, it's not that it's just abuse. It's waste and time-consuming to the Olympics. Why should we invite the Olympics here if we can't build a bridge within a timely manner? Why dialogue on bullshit paperwork and stacks of files that the engineers themselves can't pull together and get this goddamn bridge built from the east side to the west side? Just one little river you have to cross over, and you're going to spend $1 billion on a fucked up bridge that someone decides to build over an old bridge that already existed and was standing perfectly fine. Stop wasting taxpayers' dollars. You should have built another fucking train through the river. Instead of a bridge, connect the east side to the west side, the Jews to the Boyle Heights residents, and Lincoln Heights and El Sereno. We're tired of being second on the bus just because white niggers want to protest against Mr. Spinner and Michael Cunt, who are represented by 42 U.S.C. 1983 because of perjury by Herb Weston Jr. and current Price's bigotry to keep them from getting their money. If you just would pay Spindler and Michael Cunt for the record, we wouldn't have to cunt in here and cunt all the decisions on how to manage money right. Pay Spindler, pay Michael Hunt under 42 U.S.C., and as I said before,
2 minutes.
fuck you.
Mr. Spindler, you have a card on number 8. Mr. Spindler? Oh, Jesus.
Yes, you go back on the line.
Actually, hold on just a minute, Mr. Spindler. Could we get, sir, could you let us know who's here? Could you let us know who's here? Mr. Spindler, hold on. Mr. Spindler, we're okay.
From the Valley.
Mr. Spindler, would you take a seat so we could speak with the kids for just a moment, sir?
But you called me up.
Well, I'm gonna recess the meeting for a moment. We're gonna speak to the kids, and then we'll call you up after that.
You have to make a motion to recess the meeting.
No, I don't, sir.
Yes, you do.
Sir, would you do me a favor? Could you bring the kids back in just a moment? Okay. Great, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's his rooster. Councilman Curran Price has a rooster. See what you did, Davis? When you went over to Bakewell Publishing and you stood back there and you took and told them to make an example out of me. You see what happens a year later? Your seat on this commission is forfeited. You're a void commissioner. Current Price is a void councilman. Void. You got the FBI looking at you now, the California Department of Justice, the DA. The FBI is looking at the DA. The DA don't even want to touch his shit because it's just too much. All because of what?
Mr. Spooner, this isn't public comment. This is 6th Street
because
Bridge.
Bakewell Communications robbed the city of Compton out of $3.3 million. And I have the contract.
6th Street Bridge.
I have the contract. Okay? We know. We know. Bakewell Communications can pay it over 33 years.
6th Street Bridge.
Well, that's because one of your commissioners made a deal. Mr. Davis likes to make deals to cancel people's contracts and plunder cities like Compton. That's why he's here on your commission, to plunder the city's treasury for his fucking friends.
6th Street Bridge.
That's why we're here. And this contract is going to go to his friends like Bakewell and his other friends. They're going to spend 25 to 40% more than that bridge should cost to build because he's been doing it for 25 fucking years. And you want to fuck with me? Really? Did you do your homework? Did you know what my job was before 1991? You don't fucking know. You're void. This chair is void. Give it up, baby.
Ms. Allen on the 6th Street Bridge, our quarterly update.
Good morning, Julie Allen, Bureau of Engineering. I'm the program manager of the 6th Street Viaduct program, and I'm joined today by Natalie Moore, who's one of the engineers in our office. I'm happy to be here to give you a quarterly report of the project, and hopefully you can see it on your screen down below. I will start off with construction progress that we've had since I was last here in January. What you can see in the photo is steel workers fabricating the rebar cage that goes inside the 150-foot deep foundation piles. And on the right is them taking measurements of one of the piles after it's been placed. In the foundation package, we have 23 piles altogether, and we so far completed about half of them. We've completed 12 to date, and we're continuing to move from east to west to complete the foundation piles. The next photos that you see here constitute the work that'll be done on the abutments on either end of the bridge. We have abutments placed, and one's on the east side of the 101 freeway, and one is over on the west side at Santa Fe, and the contractor has placed all of the piles for those foundation or for the abutments. And in the photo, you see them fabricating the 2-foot diameter piles on the left side of the photo, and some of the completed cages, along with a picture of the east abutment foundation. The next one is the current progress of the west abutment over at Santa Fe, and they have completed the pile cap, and they are now preparing the void forms to be able to place the last bit of concrete for the abutment. The next phase of work is within the Los Angeles River. The contractor has placed a temporary trestle structure, which is used to place the 2 foundation piles that are on the east side of the river. It's a temporary works that will be removed at the end of the job, and it'll also be used for false work support during the construction of the viaduct itself. In the photo, you can see them placing beams on top of the piles that were driven, and the drill rig on top that has started the work on drilling the foundation piles. We also...
Ms. Allen, thank you. If you could hold for just one moment.
Sure.
So we have some visitors that are with us. What school are they from? Great. And what grade groups do we have? They look like high school juniors and seniors. I'm sorry? 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Well, welcome, boys and girls. We're the Board of Public Works, and we oversee the Department of Public Works. There are 5 bureaus that make up our department, and the 5 bureaus are sanitation and street services, street lighting, engineering, and contract administration. And so we're, in many ways, the city's infrastructure department. So how many of you walked on a sidewalk today? How many of you crossed the street today? or use private transportation today. So our department touches your lives every single day, and we're thrilled that you had the opportunity to come see the work that we do in City Hall. Our meetings every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning in these amazing chambers. Check out the city seal up in the ceiling. This building's been here since the 1920s, and the Board of Public Works has held meetings, public meetings in here that long. And so this will be a place that you're able to come throughout your lives in the city of Los Angeles. So welcome today. We're the board. There are 5 of us that are on the board, and everyone else up here are members of our city departments. And we're appointed by the mayor of Los Angeles, and then we are confirmed by the city council. Commissioner Repenning?
So part of what we're doing right now is that we're actually getting an update on the construction of a new bridge just outside of downtown. So we had an old bridge and it was decaying. The materials that were used to build it originally were starting to fall apart. And so it was a safety issue for our city. So we actually tore down the entire bridge, and we're now in the process of building an entirely new bridge. The person heading up the project is Julie. She's right here. She's with our Bureau of Engineering, and she is in charge of making sure that this brand new bridge gets built. So if any of you all are at all interested in math or in science, someday you might decide to pursue studies in engineering, which would allow you opportunities to come and maybe work for the city someday so that you can help deliver important things like bridges and libraries and parks to our city. So we're really happy that you guys came to City Hall today to learn about our government, and we wish you an enjoyable visit.
Thank you. And you can stay as long as you like. Julie's going to continue telling us, giving us our update on the 6th Street Bridge project. Ms. Allen, thank you.
So the next phase of work, the contractor will be installing the lower columns, and you'll begin to start seeing the big Y-bent structural columns coming. The false work for those will be coming up this summer, and they'll progress east to west and be able to continue with construction of the viaduct itself. In addition, we also have the last phase of utility relocation that has just begun. The relocation, there's a LADWP power transmission line that runs along the north side of the viaduct from the west side all the way to Mission, and that's being undergrounded, and that work has just begun and is well underway. Go ahead and go on to the next one. Oh, you already have it. Great. So one of the things I'd like to highlight is that we do tours for students. So it was
they
good
just
timing
walked out.
Yeah, I know. I should have jumped ahead a little bit. I would say. During this past quarter, we had a group from the STEM Academy of Boyle Heights. They came out and we provided a tour to that group. And earlier this month, we had a DIY girls tour from Resurrection School that Commissioner Rivas was kind enough to coordinate with us and join on the tour. And we're really happy to be able to share the experience of our project with students and get them involved in learning about engineering and being excited about the projects that we build. So onto challenges. We definitely, with a project this size, expect challenges, and we have our fair share. The first one I'll mention is coordination with the railroads. We cross 18 railroad tracks on this project from 5 different agencies.
Challenge from day one, and it'll be a challenge even beyond. But
yes,
go ahead.
We've gone through the process of getting the agreements in place to work with them. The contractors worked with us step by step, getting all the agreements in place. But now as we've proceeded into construction, some of the access that the contractor needs to be able to continue has not been provided by one of the railroad companies. So we are working closely with them to understand how we can work together with them to minimize the impacts to their operations while still allowing the access that our contractor needs to be able to construct the bridge. So, for example, we're meeting this Saturday out at Union Pacific Railroad's office out east near Colton, and we'll continue to try and work with them to have a solution that works for both agencies to be able to build the project. Another issue we've had is soil conditions as the foundation piles get installed. We've had some soil subsidence or collapses around the piles that have been addressed. We've had large rocks that we identify. We've had casing that goes 150 feet down into the ground getting stuck right down at the bottom, and holes had to be drilled all the way around the pile to be able to loosen it up and remove it. So we're working through all those occurrences, and we've been able to identify solutions for all of those and move the project forward. The last two are wet weather. As you know, we had a pretty wet season this year, so a lot of the work that we had going on during that time caused some delays when we weren't able to work during the really wet weather. And lastly, the LA River, we have work going on adjacent to the LA River during the summer, and we've already passed the wet season, but as of today, the water is still one side of the river to the other. Generally, at this time of year, it's confined within the low flow channel, and our contractor's able to come in and access the work from the river. But when water's there toe to toe, there's no way for us to get in there. So it's drying out, and we're looking forward to being able to get into the river and start work. But at this point, there's either snow melt or discharges from treatment plants upstream or something that's keeping the water flowing. So go ahead and go to the next screen. I wanted to give you an update of where we are with change orders. As I've mentioned, all the challenges that we've had, we've actually kept our change orders relatively low percentage-wise. Overall, if you discount the fact that the viaduct package was $190 million, so we're not including that in our total right now, there are no change orders for it. If we include the viaduct cost, we're less than 1% of change orders, but we're excluding it to be fair because we just started that part, and we're just under 3% overall. But I also wanted to point out that one of the change orders that added $1.3 million was not a change and add to the project. It was actually a transfer of scope from the right-of-way phase to the construction phase, and it's counted against us as far as change order percentages go, but it's not really a change in scope to the project. And without that, again, we would be under 1% overall. So the next thing is the project labor agreement status. This has been provided by the Bureau of Contract Administration. The contractor to date has achieved a 14% apprentice percentage and a 16%, my writing's really small, 16% overall disadvantaged percentage, and the goal in the PLA is 5% for the disadvantage, so they're far exceeding that particular goal. Okay, the next one. This one I just wanted to show because it's something that might be interesting.
Because it's awesome. Go ahead.
It's pretty impressive. This is the lighting design for the viaduct, and what's shown here is a depiction of what the lighting will be achieved through when we use just the white lights. The arches are lit up. We have avoided having pole street lights to allow for the arches to really stand out. And each fixture actually has all color availability, so the city has the opportunity to provide an all red bridge or purple and gold or whatever it is on any particular occasion to really make it an iconic structure and can be customized for whatever purpose the city wants to provide that lighting for. So that's something I wanted to show. The last slides I'm not planning to go through in detail. I just wanted to provide them to let you know that the landscaping package is currently under design.
Renderings look great.
Yeah, this is the presentation we've been providing to the community. We've had 4 community meetings. We've had hundreds of people attend the community meetings. We have a survey that has gone out and received over 1,000 responses of people that have given their input into what they want to see in this 12-acre park that's going to be constructed under the bridge. And we're currently going through our EIR process to have our environmental documentation complete. And the design will be fully developed, taking into account the residents' input. And also right now we're working on the geotechnical investigation to determine how much remediation we'll have to do. Based on the cost of that remediation, it'll fine-tune what money we have left to spend on amenities for the park. So that completes my presentation. I don't intend to go through each one of these, but I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, I'll take the first opportunity to say that, I look at these renderings. We've seen them. We know what this is going to be, but as we continue to see them and continue to see the design and continue to see the open space and the look and feel slides that you got, it's going to be transformational, not just for the area, but for the city and for the region. It's a big deal. It's terrific. I really don't have much else to say. Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you, President.
I can't wait for it to be done and so we can open it and enjoy it. Commissioner Jacinto?
I support you. I second your comments. Julie, thank you for the excellent report. You know, from January to today, the progress. I'll ask two questions. One is the schedule based on the wet weather and the challenges that we've been experiencing. Are we still on schedule? Are we slightly adjusted?
We're currently still on schedule to complete in the end of 2020. The railroad issues are, if we can't get those resolved soon, those have a potential to delay it if we can't make up the time elsewhere. Right now, the contractor's not able to get across the tracks and install those foundation piles on the east side of the river. So we're hoping to have that resolved very shortly so that we don't have an impact on the overall schedule.
Okay, so we're still in a
Yes.
good lane. Thank you. That's great to hear. And I'll also say that the public process schedule is excellent in terms of the input, the participation in the investment of the local community for the landscaping, for the park, for the recreation. And like President James says, this is going to be transformational for the region, but also for local people who live right next to the bridge on either side. And so I look forward to coming out in the community meetings in the summer 2017 and beyond, especially the spiral bike path lit up. That's going to be great. So thank you to the team as well. Please send our compliments and congratulations and thanks to all our staff.
I will do that. Thank you.
President James.
Thank you, Commissioner Cinto and Ms. Allen. Commissioner Repenning and then Commissioner Rivas.
Thank you, Julie, for all your work on this. It's very exciting. And I just wanted to comment that I think with this project we're seeing how investment and really trying to do a project that is bringing a world-class design to our city is going to attract other investment in infrastructure in neighborhoods. We've seen private philanthropy give money to help us build a public cultural space in the areas. I don't want to say under the bridge, but essentially it's under the bridge. You know, we've seen private developments being proposed in the arts district along the river that I think very much speak to the fact that people are going to want to live near this bridge. They're going to want to see it from their window. We're seeing the local council office, Council District 14, they're really coming in to try to advocate for a new metro stop at the 6th Street Bridge, which is exciting. So I think that, as President James mentioned, this is going to end up being a truly transformational project that goes way beyond just being a way to get from one side of the river to another. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Commissioner Rivas.
Thank you. Thank you to you and your team for inviting me for the tour. You know, as you mentioned, I went with students, and these girls are from Boyle Heights, and some of their parents also came along on the tour, and their teacher. And I got to talk to the parents. They grew up in Boyle Heights, and for them to learn what was going on in their community, they were just so grateful. And had lots of ideas and want to continue to participate. And I'm going to send the survey. I think there's a survey right now on the bridge. I'm going to send it over to them. So I think it also made them want to become ambassadors in their community to spread this information. So thanks to you and the team for doing that. And this looks great. I also can't wait to walk. And I know the girls were excited over the pedestrian, like the spirals, to go on a skateboard right down that. So that's going to be fun. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I want to thank you for the update, the report, and I can appreciate the economic development that is being inspired by the construction of this project, the project labor agreements that are helping to employ people from throughout the city. And architecturally, this is truly going to be a landmark from which we're going to get responses and certainly positive feedback from people the world over about the uniqueness of this bridge and what it will do in the lighting at night. And I truly am proud of what it will bring to us in terms of our image as it's completed. So thank you so much for the update.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Anything further? Thank you, Ms. Allen. The oral report will be received. Mr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Then we are adjourned this Wednesday morning. Thank you, everyone.